But my beats, they are hard.
Welcome back to another edition of the Sports Wrap, another quarantine edition of the Sports Wrap. AD Drew here, and joining us today is Fort Valley State Athletic Director Anthony Holloman. Anthony, how's everything going over there in Fort Valley, Georgia, and in the central Georgia area where you guys live, especially dealing with this coronavirus?
AD, thank you for having me. You know, now is a really interesting time in our society. And Fort Valley State University, like many of the institutions around the country, has been impacted by having to shut down sports for the spring semester, having our student athletes having to vacate the campus and finish up the year virtually. Today is actually the first day of all of our courses being online, and so that is a new way of doing things. And fortunately enough for us, our faculty have been able to migrate all of the classes that were not previously virtual to being online. So now for our student athletes, the coaches are trying to ensure that they're prepared to continue their schoolwork so they can maintain their eligibility and get ready for graduation. So, you know, we have probably 60 student athletes across our 11 different sports that will graduate this May, and so we're excited for those young people. But at the same time, we have 200-plus athletes that we are hoping that can return to school in the fall. And so our goal is to make sure that they are academically prepared, they're working through their courses, and they're taking advantage of this opportunity to continue to grow and develop as young people.
All right. Now, you brought up a couple of things. You've got athletes who are preparing to go out into the workforce, and then you have student athletes who are obviously going to be coming back to continue their education. For those that are going out in the workforce, have you heard anything from them about how the uncertainty of the workforce right now? You know, some may have received job offers that may be put on hold and, you know, things like that. And some of those people may have another year of eligibility returning. Is that something that you guys have looked at over there at Fort Valley State?
So one of the things that we did hear from the NCAA is that there's a great likelihood that student athletes participating in spring sports could be granted an extra year of eligibility. And so for us, we're, you know, playing it by ear because some students will be ready to take advantage of that opportunity, and some will say it's time to move on into the workforce. Many of our seniors have had challenges because some of them have been student teaching and doing other things that require hands-on class experience. And with that not being available, they're having to find different ways to complete those experiences so that they can meet the requirements for graduation. So we try to be supportive of our student athletes and provide access to information or the right people to provide the information so that they can meet the requirements for graduation. With those young people that decide to go on into graduate school and come back and use that extra year of eligibility if granted, we will welcome them back. And so we're just excited to know that this too will pass. You know, Fort Valley State, we empower the possible. And so we believe that this is a learning experience that our young people can only grow from. Now, of course, we would love to have all these young people on campus so we could continue to interact and engage them on a daily basis. But, we're doing what's best given this pandemic of COVID-19.
Right. And for the ones who will be, who do have remaining eligibility, current freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, what are some of the major challenges that you see with them being able to maintain, stay within compliance, the progress towards graduation, some of those type of challenges that you may see, in addition to trying to beat their coaches' expectations, stay in shape, work out, find a weight room to lift in. What are some of those challenges that you're seeing as an athletic director?
One of the greatest challenges that we see is that most of our student athletes are involved in some type of tutorial program within their respective sports. So the access to the help that allows them to navigate higher education is a little different now. I think one of the challenges that you have is some of our student athletes are involved in majors that require them to have labs. And so now to have the delivery method a little different is trying to continue to have them engage and work towards their desired destination, which is a college degree. I think with the young people, they're resilient. So I think they'll find ways to work out and keep themselves in shape and thinking the game so that when their time comes, they'll be prepared to come back and compete at a high level. We are in the process of building championship-level programs in every sport. And so we feel really good about the young people who are matriculating at Fort Valley State, that they will continue to work towards their goal of being good citizens and solid students, being athletes.
Right. Speaking of building championship-level sports, Fort Valley has had a couple of coaching changes in a few sports. Off the top of my head, you have a women's basketball coach who just completed his first year, so he's going into his first full recruiting cycle. You've got a new football coach who was just hired back in the fall, and then you have a new program that's coming that's new to HBCU sports in general, being men's volleyball. What are some of the challenges that those coaches are coming to you with as far as dealing with and navigating through this process?
So, AB, one of the unique things, I serve as Vice President for University Advancement and Executive Director of the Fort Valley State University Foundation. And in June of 2018, I also assumed the role as Interim Director of Athletics. And so the president tasked me with providing stability and fiscal responsibility for athletics. And in doing that, I made a decision to evaluate all the programs, their leadership, and then to look at the athletic department as a whole. And so in doing that, I have added Wheeler Brown, a former athletic director from North Carolina A&T and Jackson State University, to be my senior aide. I changed sports information directors, and we have hired a new football coach, basketball for men and women's, track and field. So we've had a complete makeover of the athletic department. And so I feel really good about the direction that we're heading. My goal is to get coaches, established coaches with experience, that had the passion to come in and lead our program. Fort Valley State has been a very historic program over the years with, great tradition in football, men's and women's basketball, track and field. And so it's very important that that be a part of the culture and the fabric of our university. And so we're looking forward to competing for not only SIAC championships, but NCAA Division II championships across the board.
All right. And so what kind of challenges are those coaches, especially those new coaches, seeing during all this turmoil with the COVID-19?
So, one of the interesting things that I've seen and been, really pleased is that our coaches, Maurice Flowers, who was just hired in January as our new football coach, Coach Flowers is very prepared. And he had a plan in place for his student athletes that have allowed them to not only pick up his system, but to progress actively, because he's challenging them mentally and intellectually, not just physically. And so everything that he's doing, they've been able to do virtually. He has Zoom huddles, so he's able to maintain contact with his coaches and his players. And I think that has allowed him to transition and for our young people to feel really good about the progress that they're making individually and collectively. Men's and women's basketball just finished their seasons, and so Coach Cheryl and Coach Andrea Williams on the women's side have done a really good job helping their young people towards graduation and going through the process of continuing to evaluate potential student athletes to make sure when it's time they can complete their recruiting classes. Terry Rose, my track and field coach, just taking the track team to Dallas, Texas, participating in a really big meet. And that was the first time that I've been here that we've had a chance to put our kids on the plane. So we're trying to continue to provide the kinds of experiences that'll be transformational in the lives of our young people. Jason Bryant, my softball coach, had just completed a weekend series where his team came out victorious and was feeling really good about the progress of our softball program. And Willie Foster, our tennis coach, was doing the same with the tennis program. So we feel like our programs are in good hands, that our coaches are prepared to meet our kids in the space that they're in, and that's a virtual world. And so we feel really good going into the next academic year, that whenever sports are being played again, Fort Valley State will be ready to play at a high level.
All right, Coach. And also, back in the fall, it was announced that you guys would be adding men's volleyball, becoming your 12th sport there on campus. Kind of, for those who aren't familiar with everything that was revolved around that, around USA Volleyball and everything, take people through the process, and then, where you were at during the shutdown, and then, where you plan to be at next spring when men's volleyball is a competitive sport there on campus.
Well, AD, it was a whirlwind. January of 2019, the SIAC was presented a proposal by the First Point Volleyball Foundation to bring men's volleyball to the conference. As you may or may not know, volleyball at the Division I level is a sport that has a combined championship between Division I and Division II. So that would put institutions like Fort Valley competing with the national powers like the University of Hawaii, Brigham Young, Long Beach State, UCLA, and other major institutions. UCLA.
Yeah.
So with that being the backdrop, we started to do our exploration. Our commissioner, Greg Moore, took the lead, And so I was asked to chair the committee for the conference for this project. And so we took a trip out to Provo, Utah, Park City, Utah, to attend a match between Brigham Young, Princeton, University of Hawaii, and McKendree University. Mm-hmm. Now, McKendree may be a name you're not familiar with. McKendree is a Division II program out of the St. Louis area. And the idea was for us to see volleyball play at the highest levels. But what they really did was expose us to the possibilities. Because while we were there, McKendree upset Brigham Young. And so you actually saw a Division II program be the national power. And they were there on a guarantee. And so they were being coached by Nikki Sandlin. Nikki also coaches the women's volleyball program as well. And so Nikki is an African-American female coaching a predominantly Caucasian sport and doing it at a high level. And so we had a chance to meet with the AD from Brigham Young, their volleyball coach, as well as Nikki, with a group of leaders from SIAC institutions. And so we left there empowered, believing that this was a sport that we could compete in a short period of time. And so after negotiations, the First Point Volleyball Foundation, along with USA Volleyball, agreed to provide $1 million in funding to the 6 schools, which broke down to a total of $150,000 per school to help us start men's volleyball. And so in men's volleyball, the maximum amount of scholarships that you could have is 4.5. And so with 4.5 scholarships, you'd have the same amount of money or access as the larger institutions. And so that's very attractive because the cost to get into it would not be exorbitant. And so this past August, we announced that Benedict College, Kentucky State, Central State of Ohio, Payne College, Morehouse, and Fort Valley will be the 6 HBCUs that will sponsor volleyball in the SIAC. And so that was a historic announcement because we became the first historically black college or university to have men's volleyball. And so over the last 12 months, schools have gone out and looked for coaches. At Fort Valley State University, we're going to combine the programs like McKendree and have one coach that coaches men's and women's volleyball. And so I was able to go out and identify Larry Rather. Larry was assistant coach at University of Charleston in West Virginia, former player at Ball State University, to come and take over our programs. And he would be assisted by his father, Ed Rather. So I'm excited to have someone who's a part of USA Volleyball that will come and lead our program.
All right. Now, there aren't a lot of African American males who are competing with volleyball at the high school level. So, where is your recruiting base going to be at for volleyball? Do you know where he's looking for talent at?
So, one of the things that Fort Valley is going to try to focus on is finding the very best players, and we're focusing on African American volleyball players. You know, volleyball is being played all around us. It's the second fastest growing sport for boys in the country. Fort Valley State is very blessed to be a part of the university system where we are offered border waivers. And so we can recruit with in-state tuition from Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida. So we expect to focus our recruiting efforts around those 6 or 7 states. They play high school volleyball in South Carolina for boys, and they have lots of club volleyball in Atlanta. So we believe that we'll be able to identify true volleyball players, and, maybe we'll get lucky and find some basketball players that can be converted to volleyball players. We look forward to, putting a competitive program on the floor from year one.
All right, and I'm excited about seeing volleyball played in our HBCUs. Does, like the other sports, when it comes to the tournament time, do you know if you guys will get an automatic bid or as a conference, or is everything just at large?
So, AB, that's what we are working towards, and I know it'll take several years, but we expect to have our conference be one of the leagues that offers AQ. But we know we have to build credibility and show that our league is here to stay. And so, as the chair of that committee, I'll be advocating for that.
All right. It's real interest. And correct me if I'm wrong, men's volleyball is a spring sport, so that
it is a spring sport.
That is, the competition start up probably.
It'll start in January.
February. Oh, in January, late January. So
it'll be in January.
All right.
January.
All right. Now the question.
Stay tuned. There'll be more to come.
All right. Well, make sure you send a copy of their press release to us here at the Black College Sports Network, and that's my BCSN and the number 1 for those of you all on social media who would like to follow us. Now, the one question everybody is having right now is, will we have football in the fall? I'm going to open the door up to you on that one.
So you know what? I believe that we will have football. I know that anytime now it's hard to see what's in front of us, but I believe that by the summer, because the CDC has said that sunshine and those kinds of things in the summer will help to mitigate some of the things that are happening. So I believe that with all the work that the medical professionals are doing, that we will be in a position that I'll be able to have football in the fall, and we're preparing as such.
All right. Do you think this shutdown would affect any classics or homecomings or anything along those lines? Because when it comes to football, especially black college football, we look at the schedule. We look for three things: when is that classic, when is homecoming, and when is the rival game.
So, I think that will be our time to re-engage the classic football games, and homecoming be the first time probably that many of our fans get a chance to root for their teams up close and personal. So I think that'll be a time for healing and reflection. So I do think that those games will be bigger than ever this year.
All right. Now, as far as the athletic department, a lot of people are working from home. Some people are considered essential workers, some are non-essential. What adjustments have there had to be made in the athletic department as a whole, from your day-to-day routine to what you guys are doing now during the shutdown? One
of the great things is that at Fort Valley State University, we have the capacity to handle most operations virtually, and so almost all the members of the athletic department are at home. And I'm able to meet with them through different mediums, from Zoom to FaceTime to Skype to different conference calls. And so we work well at this point, and individuals go to the campus as needed. I've been on the campus most every day because the administration typically is trying to deal with things that are 50,000 perspective. So, but I'm able to be virtual, and so we're trying to do what's best for the safety of all, and we're trying to follow the guidelines of social distancing.
And that's very important. And I should have come into the conversation asked you this: how's the family dealing with this situation that's going on?
You know, I think what I found is that things that you normally don't say you don't have time to do is sit down and watch TV together, or play board games, or just have conversation about our life. And so, you know, I'm appreciative of the time that I'm having with my family, and hope that others are able to take advantage of the time and spend time with the people that they love and care about, and know that we will continue to move forward.
All right. Last question I've got for you. It was announced at the end of last week the expected payout from the NCAA is going to be dramatically less because obviously the number one revenue maker for the NCAA tournament, did not occur. And we all know the trickle-down effect of that revenue that's probably in your budget and that you're anticipating. But the trickle-down effect for our HBCUs tends to be more. Just kind of hit on that briefly, and some of the financial implications of things that are going on.
So now, interestingly enough, for many of the HBCUs, you hate to lose a season for your student athletes and for your fans, but the financial impact won't be as great unless it carries over into the fall. Because for me, like many of the other programs, we were over budget. And so now that you're not spending out on travel and different things that come with the non-revenue sports, it'll allow us to have a better chance to finish our year in the black. Because our share of funds from the NCAA are minuscule in relation to what it may be at a University of Alabama or Auburn or Georgia or Georgia Tech. So we're not nearly as impacted negatively by the reduction in the allocations to the different institutions. We are probably indirectly impacted in a positive manner just by the non-revenue sports like softball and tennis and track and field won't have the overhead they would have had with a complete season of travel, per diems for the student athletes, those kinds of things. So, you know, this is not a situation that we would want, because we would want to provide opportunities for our student athletes to compete, for our fans and parents to come out and see them, and for that to build the social equity that sports bring to any institution.
All right, yeah. But obviously we know if this continues into the fall, that's where you will, and most of our HBCUs.
That's where we will see the impact, yes.
Impact, because you start losing those quote-unquote check games that we play for football, the revenue from the classics and homecomings, and just those home dates would definitely affect the
no, absolutely,
the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Coach. I'm going to give you the last say-so here. Any last words that you want to get out? Any PSAs you want to do to people about this situation? The floor is yours.
Well, what I would say is, AD, thank you for the work that you are doing in keeping our friends, alumni abreast of this global pandemic, COVID-19. We need our alums and our friends of our university to stay vigilant, to take care of themselves, and we need them to continue to support our institutions, because now more than ever, our young people are in need. at Fort Valley State, we created a Student Emergency Assistance Fund to provide resources for students who may be displaced during this time, to ensure that they have the resources that will allow them to maintain. And so anybody interested in supporting Fort Valley State University, we have a Cash App, FVSU Wildcats, that will allow dollars to the emergency fund to go to the Fort Valley State University Foundation. In addition, we also can go directly to our website, www.fvsu.edu/give. So, again, thank you for the opportunity to be with you this morning, and go Wildcats.
Now, those two websites, those are for emergency assistance funds. Is that correct, Coach?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now, if I just want to give in general to Fort Valley State University, Fort Valley Athletics, et cetera, go ahead, give us all that information. And if if I've got a student athlete who may be interested in coming to Fort Valley, where do I go to send that prospect form? Give us all that information that you need. This is your time to sell your school and your program.
So for people who have young people interested in Fort Valley State University, you can go to our website, www.fvsusports.edu, and we have prospective student athlete forms on our athletic webpage for every sport. Our coaches pull them down and they follow up because we're looking for the diamond in the rough. And if you want to give directly to Fort Valley State for any reason, www.fvsu.edu/give. And when you go to the giving site, it will allow you to designate wherever you want your gift to go.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, Anthony Holloman, Athletic Director, Fort Valley State University. He's just like the rest of us. He's quarantined. He's sheltering in place as much as possible. But like a lot of us, you really find out if you're essential or non-essential personnel. And I'm pretty sure he's essential personnel over there, being Vice President for University Advancement, in addition to being the Athletic Director. Thank you, Coach Holloman. We appreciate you here at the BCSN. And for the BCSN, this is A.D. Drew saying stay safe, wash your hands. Thank you, and let's end this epidemic.
It's like a loop machine.